Welcome to Surrender School. So they're Enneagram office hours on Monday and Thursday at 8 a.m. and also 4 p.m. on Monday. We just started doing that, and a couple of people have shown up, so that's good. We also have a course called Step 1 Science, Saturdays, February 1st through March 15th. So there are a couple of sessions left in that. The recordings are also out there from earlier. If you haven't had a chance to take that course, you want to. It's really, really good. All right. We also have a book studies, by the way, are books that you read on your own, and then we come together to discuss them. The reading rooms, we actually read the books together. So the book study that we have right now is The Alchemy of the Enneagram and Transforming Addiction. And we're actually meeting with the author, Michael Naylor, which is just a joy to work with him. That's monthly on Mondays at 10:30 to noon Pacific time. See the website for details or for all the dates. It has all the dates that are there. Tomorrow is a session on type 4. If you are a type 4, you don't want to miss that. We will record it if you're not able to attend, but it should be really, really good. And I talked to Michael this morning and he's on board, ready to go. All right, for the reading rooms, the ones we read together, we have Drop the Rock Wednesdays at 3 p.m., the AA 12 and 12 Tuesdays at 1:30, and Emotional Sobriety by Alan Berger on Tuesdays and Wednesdays from 8 to 9 in the morning. All right, I want to talk a little bit more about the Step 1 Science. First, I want to say Step 1 Science is about what happens in your body when you ingest your trigger foods. And Linda, I mean, she covers it beautifully. This course literally made such a difference in my life, understanding all the things that were happening in my body that I used to blame myself for. I thought I was broken. And now I realize, nope, working is designed. It's just a shit design. No, I'm kidding. But anyway, it's a good design. I just didn't work with it. Anyway, so really, really helpful course. You want to take that. Also, Michael and I are doing something called First Friday Enneagram Exchange, and it's a podcast kind of feel. And the first 4 sessions, 3 or 4 sessions, just depend, started February 7th. It'll be March 7th, April 4th, and maybe the May one also, first Fridays. He's covering the 3 instincts and the zones within the 3 instincts. So he's going as deep as he needs to, answering questions, and there were a lot of questions, which is just awesome. So anyway, it's either going to be 3 or 4 weeks. We're not sure which, and we're just going to play it by ear. And then after that, we will start the Enneagram Exchange, which is the podcast kind of feel. And the first week after he's finished with the instincts, I'm going to interview him on his recovery, on basically how his recovery and Enneagram came together, because he's also a 12-stepper. And so I will interview him, and at some point he'll interview me, and we'll bring some other people in that are 12-steppers and Enneagram. I was just amazed at how many Enneagram people are 12-steppers. There's a lot that basically were in recovery and then found the Enneagram. So I didn't know that before. So exciting stuff. Anyway, watch for that. First Friday of every month. All right, let's see. So consider taking the past workshops or book studies. They're all out there recorded. If you go to everything we offer, you'll see past things and current things. You can click on those. Consider experiencing the meditations by step. Out there, we have meditations by every step of the 12 steps. I really considered doing that in here as part of that, but that would take up 5-7 minutes, something like that. I'm not sure we want to take that in the session. So you consider doing that on your own. Working through the step study alone or with a sponsor. Every year, Surrender School does a different and unique step study, or at least deeper, richer step study. I'll put it that way. Consider doing that alone or with the sponsor. And then attending an in-person retreat. In 2026, we will have an in-person retreat in Las Vegas. If you'd like to participate in the planning for that, reach out to Joy at some point in time and let her know you're interested in helping with that. All right. All of the information that I talk about here can be found on surrenderschool.org. And once again, if you haven't been to our website, you want to go there. Lots and lots of really good information out there. All right. Consider being a volunteer. Reach out to Trisha if you'd like to volunteer. She's our volunteer coordinator. And that way, on any of the stuff that we're doing, we love to have volunteers. So I think that's good. Has Surrender School helped your recovery? If that is the case, then please consider donating. We are a 501(c) in the United States, which is a not-for-profit organization, but we do have expenses. So all of that goes toward our expenses. And I would imagine there's probably going to be expenses for the retreat in 2026 as well. So, all right, consider that. If I were really organized, I would have a a QR code here, but obviously I'm not, so it's not there. All right, so consider joining the WhatsApp group. So can somebody, if you can put like the invitation to the WhatsApp group in the chat, that'd be great. Otherwise, reach out to me later. You'll see my contact information, reach out to me later, and I'll figure out how to get you that. And we'll also get a QR code here one of these weeks. Okay. One other thought is to sign up for the daily Ennea thought from the EnneagramInstitute.com. There is no space in there. It's Enneagram Institute, one word, no spaces, .com. And you can come pick up to 2 Enneagram thoughts each day. Very helpful to me as an aide. I read it and it gives me something to kind of think about throughout the day, or at least kind of watch for throughout the day. And since you get 2, you could do you and one of your wings, you could do and you and your spouse, you and your daughter, whatever it makes sense. Okay. All right, let's take a moment to feel your breath going in and out and your feet on the floor. What we want to do is make sure that we are 100% present. Let go of everything that went before and anything that is to come. Now let's say the set aside prayer together. God, help me to set aside everything I think I know to leave space for what I have yet to learn. All right. So the goal of the course is a personal journey. Our focus is to help us understand the relationship between our false self, that ego structure, and our true self, and to treat ourselves with unrelenting compassion because we are human. I've talked before about the fact that I worked a 12-step program and I kept going deeper and deeper into self-contempt. And it wasn't until I found the Enneagram that I realized that I can't hate myself to recovery. I can't do it. It doesn't work that way. I have to love myself to recovery. So that's why I say treat yourself with unrelenting compassion because you're a human. All right, some of the things to keep in mind. We will work the step by type, and therefore you want to be sure that you take the test to know your type. It's really hard to work this if you don't know what your type is. So even if you're not 100% sure, pick one and go for it because otherwise it's way too much. All right. Self-contempt stops spiritual growth, which is what I talked about. I can't hate myself into recovery. All right. And then if you do the work, you will be supercharged. We're finding that, getting all kinds of information back from people that are telling us exactly that. The other thing is, remember, I'm going to sneeze or something. I'm going to blow my nose. And I honk when I blow my nose. Sorry about that. I've tried throughout my life not to honk. Instead, I just give in. And at Christmas, I like honk Christmas carols for people. So if you have a desire, let me know. Anyway, so here's the thing. Here's the reminder. You can be a lot of things in the world. Whatever it is that you can be kind. Be kind to one another and be kind to yourself, right? You will see an amazing difference in your life. All right. So the plan, very simply, we share a little in here. We cover a little bit of information, then we randomly assign you to Zoom rooms where you share, you read your question and share on the question of the week. And then we come back to the main room. If you have other comments or questions, then you bring them there. And so far, it's been working out nicely to do that. I keep this slide or something similar to it up because I want to remind everybody that the questions are, inquiry is another word for question. And what A.H. Almas, who's one of the gurus of the Enneagram, says is that inquiry is a process of delving into the secrets of existence. And he talks about the fact that what happens is when we do that, patterns show up as patterns. And our projections show up as projections because our projections are just basically the stories we tell ourselves. And we don't know that's what we're doing until we start doing this inquiry. And then we start realizing, oh, wait a minute, that's not the truth. That's not reality. That's my view of reality. That's the story I've been telling myself. And this pattern that keeps showing up over and over and over again. What happens is once you recognize those and you catch yourself in the act of that, that's when that ego structure starts to dissipate. And once again, we do the work, and our higher power, greater power, is the one that basically releases us and basically helps that ego structure to kind of dissipate a bit so I can live a cleaner, fuller, happier life. All right. Once again, we are in step 2, week 3. And we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. I gave you some assignments about reorienting yourself for last week. So we are going to start by asking, does anyone want to share on the Step Up Challenge that you were given? Did anybody have a chance to do that? I know it's a lot when we have a Step Up Challenge and we have, and the Step Up Challenge gets a little bit harder each month. I know that everybody had, if you had a super busy week, hopefully what you did.
Sure, muted.
Sorry, Cher.
That's all right. You didn't want to hear what I had to say. No, I'm kidding. All right, let me see here. I'm going to put the view on gallery so I can see everybody and see if anybody wants to raise your hand. If you had a chance to do any of the challenges this week, which was about journaling on your type specific reorientation. Anybody want to share on that? Everybody is eager to share on your questions, I'll bet. Okay, that's all good. I do want to say, if you haven't had a chance, Dave, go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. So for the type 8, the step up challenges, one of them was, one goal may be to move over time from opinionated to not stating an opinion to not having an opinion. Journal on that. And then another one was, your higher power loves your intensity. Catch yourself in the act of overly intense for a particular audience. Can you reduce the intensity without losing yourself? So it's very interesting. I was having breakfast with 2 other type 8s. One that I know is a type 8, and the other I suspect is a type 8, although he hasn't taken a test, I don't think. But so we were talking about this first one about moving from opinionated to not stating an opinion to not having an opinion. And I mentioned that last weekend I had really made an effort to not state my opinion about what Kim and I should do for the weekend, because she had a 5-day weekend, which is unusual. I wanted her to be able to choose, a lot of the activities that we did. So usually I have lots of opinions. We should do this, we should do that. But I thought, nope, I'm going to let her do that more this weekend. So, but I said, I still had an opinion. I just tried not to state it. I said, I'm not sure it's possible for me not to have an opinion about anything. So we debated about whether that's possible or not. And then one of the other people, someone who's not in this program we're in, or in this class we're in, started talking about politics and basically saying that almost anything is just an opinion when it comes to politics. And I said, no, there's such the thing as objective reality, and don't you pay any attention to what's going on in the news and in the world? And he basically started saying, well, it's just a swing back and forth of a pendulum from one side to the other. And I said, no, it isn't always that. I said, I start getting really agitated and forcefully expressing my opinion. So, and that was where that intensity came in, is that both these guys can be very intense too, I guess in somewhat different ways than I am. But I did catch myself. It's like I overreacted to this, and I was overly intense. And what it ended up doing is actually shutting down the conversation, which we were just having a friendly conversation, and it turned into, me trying so much to dominate the conversation that there was no more conversation. So anyway, sort of combined 2 of those together, but it was very interesting to see that happen. Thanks.
So thank you, Dave. No punches were thrown, so that's a win. So thank you, Dave. Jim, to you.
Thank you, Chair. Hi. Okay, so I did the monthly challenge, and it's for type 4. And the monthly challenge for type 4 is reorient by focusing on specific facets of your higher power. If you already have a higher power, is it big enough, trustworthy enough, loving enough? If not, reorient to the facet that changes your perspective. I might not have fully understood that question. So I have written, no, I feel like I said no for everything. Is it big enough? I was focusing on, is it big enough? So no was the answer, because at times I don't feel in touch with this higher power. Uh, Although I need to add that since I began my healing journey, I viewed, because I've got a problem with religion, you know, so I intentionally viewed my higher power, universe, the energy. Um, and so I kind of finished off that question by answering, and sure, the universe is big enough to be my power. Guess I still need to work on my higher power relationship. So the next part of the challenge was, imagine telling your 12-step story this passionately. It would sound like this: my husband and I divorced. My son and I are estranged. Try journaling your story with no adjectives. Um, so I think at what I think you guys call kindergarten, I wasn't really taught very well about adjectives. So you can tell me if this is true or not as I answer that question. Being treated as a scapegoat for others' shortcomings is an indescribable insult endured for many years, and unless going no contact was 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 detectable in the younger generation, which is an intolerable situation. And that's how I answer that question. So then it goes on, your higher power knows you're special. You know you're special. Does anyone else need to know you're special? And I answered no for that. The final part, find a beautiful item or experience, and when it touches your heart and makes you feel sad, see if you can stay with it and reorient it to something like joy. Okay, so and I guess for the beautiful item would be a photograph I have taken when I finished my first degree qualification. But in that photograph, there are other people who I consider to be toxic. So when I began my healing journey, I removed that photograph not to see it. So I guess that would be a beautiful item, and through which I see sadness because of the experiences I've had. I have to look at it to find joy. Unfortunately, I can't find where I hid it. So just have to pass on that one for now. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Jim. And I want to say too, that's one of the things that for the 4, and once again, this because I'm not linked to the 4, so I have the view from the cheap seats, right? It's like, so take that for what it's worth. But it's like what I'm imagining, that because I did come up with these challenges, is for the 4 to be able to say, in my childhood, I didn't get what I needed. So it isn't even an indictment of the parents. It isn't that I'm a piece of shit or they're a piece of shit or anything like that. There's none of that. As a child, I didn't get what I needed. And then you get to dig out what it is you needed, right? Because one of the things in The Wisdom of the Enneagram, that book by Russ Hudson and Don Riso, one of the things that it talks about is that, and I will cover it here in a few weeks, what is the childhood message that I needed that I did not get? For the 8, it's that I will not be betrayed. So I look for betrayal everywhere. As a younger person, I did. I looked for betrayal everywhere, or in my innocence, didn't look for it and then was betrayed and then felt like completely destroyed because of it. So I think that's one of the things, Jim, as you go through that, is just the acceptance that I didn't get what I needed. Not like, and I know that, you say your mom is narcissistic and it's all, that's fine. It may be true. I don't know. But the real issue here is, what it really boils down to is, as a 4, you did not get what you needed when you were a child. You didn't get what you needed. So then let's unpack that and figure out what is it that you needed. And then can we mother ourselves? can we as a group mother ourselves and get us what we need? Because that's really, when it's all said and done, what we're trying to do. That's what 12 steps are about, because we don't drink. I mean, and Bill kind of talks about this a little bit. We don't drink or eat or drug or sex or any of that. We don't do that because it's fun. Maybe it started out fun, I don't know, right? But that's not why we do it. We become addicts because there's something missing and we don't know what it is and we don't know how to solve it. And so we solve it through some type of addiction. We think we solve it, right? And we end up causing ourselves more problems. So thank you, Jim, so much for sharing that. I really appreciate it. Jennifer, so I think, Jasmine, you had your hand up. Did you want to talk? I don't see you here. Okay. Jennifer, go ahead.
Yes, hi. Good to be here, Jennifer. One of the questions for the second question was, fear is an automatic physical response to something happening right now. Anxiety is about something that may happen in the future, to which you experience the physical fear response. Ask yourself, am I in danger right now? If yes, get to safety. If no, take 10 deep breaths and take your body to calm. So one thing that I have noticed in the past and noticed this week as well is, in the moment, asking inquiry questions takes me to my head instead of my body, and I need to be in my body. So combining a little bit of that third question with this one, rather than asking myself that full question, I just noticed if I was experiencing a physical fear, and I immediately said the last part of my mantra and the word calm. So I am guided within. I am guided within. Calm, 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 calm. And I am amazed at the difference that made, to the extent that toward the end of the week, I constantly, because of my work, have situations in which, most meetings have crises and, things up and down and up and down. And I had a meeting on Thursday with a staff member who very often can trigger things in me just because of the way she approaches. She's an 8, and, just the way this thing happens. And in terms of a funding situation and in terms of a very serious participant situation, I did not catastrophize. And I noticed that. And I don't know that I have ever not catastrophized in a situation when there was money involved and funding, or the worst case scenario. And I never even really noticed how future oriented I was, because it feels so real to me in the present. And so just that ability to note it, oh, this is what they mean by you're in the future. You're not catastrophizing over what is happening right now. This is you doing that future thing, and you're thinking about next week and next month and how you're going to fix things in order for everything not to fall apart. And so I think it was a gateway, but it really was a powerful one. And my final meetings on Thursday and Friday, I'd be sitting there with the staff member and I would just start inside of myself, calm, 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 because I knew that I would pretty soon be triggered into a reaction and a response that could be seen as being a little paranoid or controlling. And when my body feels calm, I don't seem to go to those places as much. So I'm going to continue with that practice. Thank you.
Awesome, Jennifer. And I will say, so one of the things that 6s think will solve something is they make a list of all the things that could possibly go wrong, right? Which means 100% inside of their head, 100% inside of their head. And then all of those become potential catastrophes, right? Not the way to do it, but really hard to refrain from. So yeah, congratulations. That's awesome. I love to hear that. Thank you, Jennifer. And Tamara, we'll have you share, and then we're going to move on. Go ahead, Tamara.
Okay, great. I'm going to make this short. I'm a 2. Oh, quickly, everybody may already know this, but I went into chat. If you put a 2 in the search, you can, or whatever you are, you can pull up all the people that are in your type in the chat. Anyway, I had a challenge that I didn't intentionally do, but I realized I gave time to, this was the challenge, give time to your higher power, expecting nothing in return, and experience the joy of time spent. So when I took long walks in the wintry woods by my house, which is like 45 minutes to an hour, 3 or 4 times this week, I did that. And reflecting on this, I can see that I didn't get the message in childhood actually is something greater than myself that is the source of love without me doing anything to earn it. Reminds me of that. My father explicitly said there is nothing else, nothing else. We stopped going to church when I was 5, and so I didn't really have that. And so this is pretty powerful to have something. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. So Vera and Jasmine, I have your names written down. So when we come back after the breakout room, you'll be the first that I call on if you'd like to share on this or whatever you'd like to share on, because we're going to go ahead and move on right now. I'm going to start sharing my screen again. All right. Oops. We have to go here. Okay. All right, so definition of the week. And once again, step 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. And I want to talk about what the phrase came to believe means. It is the process, this is what the dictionary definition is. The process of being persuaded to trust in something based on cues while being guided to a specific viewpoint. Now, I want to talk about how in program, at least my view of how this actually works. Okay, we're going to work on process, trust, and then the specific idea. Okay, so first of all, trust is a confident expectation. And confident expectation means that most of the time I believe this. It doesn't mean that every minute of every day, constantly, I believe it. It means that I am confident in my expectation, but not 100% convinced. And I think sometimes what happens is people think, oh, doubt, it's a horrible thing. No, doubt's a good thing because doubt has you working on things, and work is the answer, at least from in my perspective. Process means it takes time. So you don't suddenly, some people, I guess Bill did suddenly wake up one morning, but most of us don't, right? Most of us, it is a process that we're working through. The other thing I want to talk about are the cues. Based on the cues. The cues in our case is the learning and experience, our own experiences. That's the way that we have to do it, because we are guided, right, by trusted people, the people that we have around us, to our own specific viewpoint, not theirs. This to me is the answer to everything in the 12 steps. The specific viewpoint is my specific viewpoint, not yours. So all the stuff that I share, I don't expect you to believe that. You weren't raised in my family. You don't have my background. You know, you're not the age that I am. You're not in the generation I am. You're not from the same part of the country I am, the same part of the world that I am. You are not going to have exactly the same view as me. You can't, right? So I show you what my view is so that maybe you can pick up pieces of that if it's of interest to you. But the process of being persuaded to have confident expectation in something based on my learning and experience while being guided by my dear friends here to my own viewpoint. That is what I'm talking about. So crinkle that up, the process of being persuaded to trust in something based on your own experience while being guided to your own unique viewpoint. This is what came to believe means. It does not mean somebody gives me a food plan. It does not mean somebody tells me I have to make 3 phone calls a week or a day or whatever it is. That does not mean that. It means that through my experience, right? Because that is how you learn to love yourself. I will always fall short of someone else's expectations. Hell, I fall short of my expectations. But guess what? I get to move forward and I get to say, okay, that didn't work. Let's try something else. This is how you cultivate compassion. Almost impossible to cultivate compassion if somebody is over your shoulder telling you you're a piece of shit, whether it's you or someone else. You can't do it. You just can't do it because you're fighting that all the time. You don't want to do that. So came to believe in a power greater than ourselves that could restore us to sanity. The process of being persuaded to trust in something based on your own experience while being guided to your own unique viewpoint. All right. All right. I'm going to talk about a little bit about what might be difficult for our type. And this, I'm going to cover them really quickly, and then we'll go out to the breakout rooms. I'm going to cover these because this is what is going to be out as your handout this week. And then the question that I ask is, does it resonate with you, and could this be in your way? And I want to talk for a minute about why I do the difficulties as basically toward the end of, that's the final exercise for that step, because we have question 4 is for next week, right? This week is 3, next week is 4. And the reason that instead of putting the why this might be difficult up front, I don't want you to look through that from the beginning. I don't want you to look at that as something you have to blast through. What this is intended to do is say, well, okay, how did the questions go? Were you able to answer them? Did you have any difficulties? And if you did, maybe this was one of your difficulties because of your type. That's why it's an after thing instead of a before thing. I don't want you to look at it through that perspective. This matters to you if you had difficulty with the questions, if you really had trouble answering them. Okay, so I'm going to cover these real quick. Okay, came to believe a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Why might step 2 be difficult for your type? If you are a 1, the rigid search for the right way, almost always 1s are the ones all the way through the program. They're looking for the right way to do it, especially when we get to step 4. They're the ones that are, they spend a year and a half looking for exactly the right inventory, right? And it's the same thing here. They want to be sure it's the true greater power. They want to be sure what is sanity versus insanity, all of that. So they search for the right way. Okay. 2s are resistant to insanity. They're like, I'm not insane. Even if to everybody else, their life seems a little insane. My actions are not the problem. And also sometimes 2s will make other people their higher power. Right? Think of this. This doesn't say higher power. It says a power greater than ourselves. Really? 2s? You want to make somebody else greater than you? No, you don't. No, you are the star of your own movie. If you can relax into the fact that you're the star of your own movie, you don't make anybody else greater than you, right? You're a wave in an ocean. The ocean is your higher power, your greater power, and you are a wave in that ocean. You're part of the whole, but you are unique unto yourself. You don't make other people your higher power. That's a bad thing. And 2s will sometimes do that, especially early in program. All right. 3s, they're resistant to the idea that there is even something greater than themselves. So 3s basically will make themselves, and once again, this is different than the star of their own movie. The star of their own movie means there is a movie that's not you, and you're a star in it, right? But if they don't believe that there is a greater power, that means they are a wave and they don't believe there's an ocean, right? Okay, I don't know how that works. And I'm also not tied to a 3. View from the cheap seats, I'll say it. So, but here, they are resistant to the idea that there is something greater than themselves. 3s, we don't have very many 3s in here because 3s usually don't do this kind of work. They don't want to go deep. They don't like to feel a lot of emotions. And one of the things I'm finding is an 8 who don't like to feel a lot of emotions either, is this is filled with emotions. Okay, so for 4, they fear the pit of they fear that they will fall into a pit of despair that they can never get out of. So they'll stay just a little sad. They don't want to fall into the pit of despair because they feel like they will always be there. Because the 4s don't quite believe this too shall pass. If you don't quite believe this too shall pass, it's really hard to believe that there's anything that could restore you to sanity. Okay, for the 5s, they're impatient to know now. Came to believe is too slow. They want to research their answers. They want to research it and just get it over with. Okay, for the 6s, they are suspicious of authority. They sometimes will have the Godward issue. So in a meeting when people are saying God, and they don't want to hear God, right? They're the ones that bolt because they don't want to hear God, especially if anything has happened in their life where they become that God is not trustworthy to them, which then I'm going to toss you back to last week's thing, right? If your God is not trustworthy, if your higher power, your greater power is not trustworthy, that's tough, especially for 6s, it's hard. For the 7s, I like my brand of insanity. Why would I change? Okay, that's the 7s issue. Okay, for the 8s, there's a big difference between could and would. I'm using this. This is from my perspective. I always believed that there was a higher power that could restore me to sanity, but I didn't believe that greater power would restore me to sanity. Could, sure, yeah, you can, but would? What? Why? Why would he bother? What? This is something I should do for myself, right? So anyway, so the difference between could and would is a tough one for the 8. Okay. And then for the 9, delaying the work in hopes that that came to believe will happen regardless of whether I do the work or not. And this is really interesting because it isn't that 9s don't believe there is work that needs to be done. They just believe that they can do the work later. And in the meantime, God will fix them. Maybe they will. I don't know. But this is a block for them because and once again, it's not laziness. It doesn't have anything to do with laziness. It has to do with a deep belief somewhere in them that without the work, the stuff will still happen. Right. We all have that to a degree, but 9s have that. Okay. Does any of this resonate with you? And could any of this be in your way? If you're having trouble with the questions, ask yourself this: is this what's getting in the way? And once again, I came up with these just from the research that I've done. I could have completely wrong on any or all. So take it with a grain of salt. All right. The type question of the week. With a couple changes I made here. Okay, for every share, you must read your question. And Lori, I'm going to assume that we have enough breakout room leaders. Awesome.
We
Okay.
do. We're in good shape.
Awesome. Thank you so much for volunteering, people. All right, for every share, you must read the question for your type first, right? Which is why you write it at the top of your page. Please be kind to your room leader and follow this rule because the room leaders are wonderful people that have volunteered to do this. And it's extremely uncomfortable to have to say, I'm sorry, will you read your question? Right. It's embarrassing to them. It's a real stretch for them to have to do that for some of them. So just be kind to them. The only purpose is to read the question and share. Okay. And then if you have other shares, right, wait until everybody in the room has shared. If there's time at the end, you're welcome to share after that. Just, explain when you start. I don't have another question. I just want to share on whatever, right? And then come back to the main room for more information and also additional shares when we come back to the main room. All right, is everybody ready? I'm going to stop sharing my screen. My therapist and I said, throughout my life, there was always one person at every job where that person, I was never myself around. I could never just relax and just be myself. And because I'm pretty much who I am is who I am, right? But there was always like one person. It was usually the CEO. I was high enough in the organization with the CEO. So the CEO never got to know me, never saw the benefit of having me in the company like that. At least that's the way I felt. And so I was telling him that, and he said, yeah, that's your 2 side. And I said, do 2s feel like that all the time with everyone? And he said, yes. And I'm like, I would kill myself. It would be terrible, right? To have everybody matter that much, right? So that's why my link to the 2, I get that, right? And so I'm gonna bless you with all kinds of 8ness, Jasmine, as you go into this day to day. Just be you, because you are wonderful. So good for you. All right. Thanks for recovering with us.